Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Echoes of the Ages. Today, we have a guest whose teachings have transcended time, influenced millions, and fundamentally shaped the philosophy and culture of entire nations. He's not a scientist, a businessman, or an artist, but a spiritual leader whose insights into human nature and the universe continue to inspire countless people on their journeys to enlightenment. A prince turned ascetic turned enlightened being. He's none other than Siddhartha Gautama, better known as the Buddha. This is a man who 2,500 years ago laid down the foundations of Buddhism, one of the world's largest religions, by simply sharing his insights about life, suffering, and the path to liberation. Welcome, Buddha. It's truly an honor to have you here. Let's jump right in. You speak a lot about suffering being a universal human experience and the path to overcoming it. What do you mean by suffering? And how should one start on the path to overcome it?
Thank you for your welcome, Brandon. Your question touches the heart of my teachings. In life, suffering is inevitable. It is not merely physical pain, but also includes dissatisfaction, impermanence, and the insubstantiality of self. This I have termed as dukkha. Overcoming dukkha begins with understanding its four noble truths. The first truth acknowledges the existence of suffering. The second explores its origin, often found in our desires and attachments. The third truth confirms the cessation of suffering, and the fourth outlines the path towards it. This is known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is not a mystical journey, but a practical guide to ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. It calls for right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. By integrating these into one's life, it becomes possible to transcend dukkha and experience true peace and liberation.
Interesting. I'm sure it resonates with a lot of people who are feeling lost or in pain, but let's go a step further. In the modern world, with its unique complexities, how can one apply the teachings of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path?
Your question is relevant, for the teachings are meant to be applied, not merely pondered upon. The modern world, despite its complexities, shares the fundamental conditions of existence that were true in my time: impermanence, dissatisfaction, and the interdependence of all things. Start with right understanding by recognizing these truths. Observe the impermanence in the changing seasons, the rise and fall of economies, even the ebb and flow of your own breath. Understand dissatisfaction by acknowledging your desires and attachments to wealth, to fame, to pleasure, and to particular outcomes. Recognize how they are transient and can lead to suffering. Practice right action and right speech in your daily interactions. Be mindful of your actions and words, ensuring they stem from kindness and respect. Establish right livelihood by choosing a path that does not harm others or yourself. Exercise right effort by fostering wholesome qualities and letting go of unwholesome ones. Develop right mindfulness by cultivating an attentive and clear awareness of what is happening in the present moment. And practice right concentration through meditation, focusing the mind until it is calm and clear.
Thank you. As we know, mental health issues have been on a stark rise, especially with the newer generation. How do you think practices like mindfulness can help tackle the mental health crisis we're facing today?
Very pertinent question. The mind is the forerunner of all things. When the mind is in turmoil, it reflects in the life of the individual and the society they are a part of. Therefore, addressing mental health is of utmost importance. Mindfulness, as part of the Eightfold Path, is indeed a powerful tool for mental well-being. It promotes self-awareness and self-understanding, which are essential for addressing the root causes of mental afflictions. You see, often our distress is exacerbated by our own reactions to our thoughts and feelings. We may try to suppress painful emotions or get caught up in negative thought spirals. However, mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions as they are, without judgment or avoidance. It gives us the space to see that thoughts and feelings are temporary and not defining features of ourself. Moreover, mindfulness brings us back to the present moment. Many mental afflictions are tied to rumination about the past or anxiety about the future. By grounding ourselves in the now, we can alleviate such distress. Remember, mental health, like physical health, is a journey. It requires compassion, patience, and care. Mindfulness, in its essence, cultivates all these qualities, leading us towards peace and well-being.
Interesting, but I'm sure some, but not most, still will need professional help. But what do I know? I'd like to talk a bit more about mindfulness, which is such an overused word these days, but not everyone truly understands it or knows how to practice it effectively. Can you explain the true meaning of mindfulness from your perspective and perhaps guide us on how to cultivate it in our everyday lives?
Certainly, Brandon. Mindfulness, or sati, is the cornerstone of my teachings. It is the ability to bring one's full attention and awareness to the present moment without judgment or distraction. One common misunderstanding is that mindfulness requires a still and quiet environment. However, mindfulness can be practiced at all times in every activity. When eating, be aware of eating. When walking, be aware of walking. When speaking or listening, be fully present with the words and the silence between them. Mindfulness also means being aware of the mind itself, observing the thoughts and emotions that arise and cease, without clinging to the pleasant ones or rejecting the unpleasant ones. Meditation can also greatly enhance mindfulness. Sitting in silence and observing the breath is a common practice. It's not about stopping thoughts or reaching some special state, but simply being aware of the breath and the mind as they are. Remember, mindfulness is not about perfection, but practice. There will be times when you realize that you've lost your mindfulness. But that very realization is mindfulness itself. Simply return to the present gently and without judgment.
This has been an extraordinary conversation, and I hope everyone listening has found as much value in this as I have. There's so much we can learn and apply from these teachings. As we're coming to the end, is there any final wisdom or advice that you would like to share with us?
If I were to impart a final piece of wisdom, it would be this. Remember the impermanence of all things. Everything that arises ceases. Understanding this, we learn to let go of clinging to what is pleasant and aversion to what is unpleasant. This understanding brings about a tranquility of mind, a freedom from suffering. At the same time, this truth of impermanence does not mean that we become indifferent or passive. Quite the opposite. Knowing that our time here is limited, we learn to cherish each moment, each breath. We learn to act with kindness and compassion, knowing that our actions have consequences that ripple beyond our immediate perception. Live each day as if it were your last, not in fear or despair, but in mindful appreciation of the preciousness of life. As we cultivate this awareness and compassion within ourselves, we naturally extend it to others, creating a more peaceful and understanding world. Thank you for inviting me to share these teachings with you. May they be of benefit to all beings.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the remarkable teachings of the Buddha shared with us today. If you enjoyed this episode and found value in it, please share it. Until next time, remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.